Shawnee. Welcome back. So I'm getting ready for work and I have my nightgown on because I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna wear yet. I just put on the Honey Halo moisturizer from Pharmacy Cosmetics. This has become my favorite moisturizer. I really like it. It moisturizes. This is the big, like the huge jar, and I've still got a good amount left, so probably in a couple more months I can probably look at buying another one. Yeah, so I'm going to use a couple of palettes I haven't used in a while. They're both from Blend Bunny. I'm going to use the Blends palette, just 30 matte shades, and pair it with the Surge palette, which is a combination of shimmers and mattes and some like neon shades down there. So yeah, I'm going to go in with the Wheat shade and the Colored Rain paint base eyeshadow base and go ahead and get started. So I have a pretty I have a pretty good amount of folks today. I have my pro bono folks that I see. So I try to, you know, provide services for folks who wouldn't normally be able to do so, to afford therapy. I just do a certain amount of slots because, you know, I also have to be able to afford to live, but it has always been my intention to be able to, you know, provide services for folks who wouldn't normally be able to access therapy. But I also will do some like lowered fees for folks in times where they're having some difficulties. But I try to keep one or two pro bono slots open, and just because they're free, I don't change like I'm not like, well, since you ain't paying me, I'm gonna give you some like discount therapy. No, I give them the same amazing therapy that they would receive if they like gave me money for it. So it's an interesting thing because when I was in grad school, like they encourage you to go to therapy. So I remember, this is funny. I remember going and being like, I don't have anything to talk about. Like I probably don't even need to come often. So we started bi-weekly. Child, I think after a month, I was like, so I need to meet weekly because obviously I have a lot going on. But in grad school, like I think I had the student insurance, so my copay was like $10 or something. But the therapist told me that she was going to see me pro bono. She started seeing me pro bono. My first therapist was actually like a middle-aged white woman. When I tell you I love that lady, listen, love. I had not been in therapy before. I should have been, but I had not. So she had like, at that point I was what, 21, 22? She had 21 years to like work through. I mean, from ejection from the birth canal, I should have been in therapy. So yeah, it was very, like I was just really thankful that I could access therapy without having to worry about, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay for stuff on this little itty bitty, grad school, whatchamacallit, stipend or whatever. So I didn't mean to do that, because this has some color on it, but we're gonna work with that. So yeah, I try to do the same, but I've always wanted to, because when I was like starting out, or when I was thinking about, I want to be a psychologist, mainly because I wanted people to call me doctor, but also because I have just been drawn to it forever. Like in high school, I went to school with Meghan Markle, in Hollywood, and so you know, I lived in the hood. So I had to get to school somehow, right? And because my school was the last stop on the like public transportation, like nobody could really take me. Like my mom had to go to work and different things, so she couldn't be driving all the way to Hollywood to drop me off, right? And our school was private but not Catholic. It used to be Catholic, but our nuns got kicked out of the archdiocese because they were badass, right? Really good school. You had to like take a test to get in. Of course I did well. And I had to take the public transportation. I think initially LA's public transportation was called RTD. I don't remember what it stands for because we used to call it rough, tough, and dangerous. And then I think it changed to like MTA, like most places. But I was one of the folks that lived the furthest out. Why am I telling you this? What was the point? Oh, so I would take the public bus. That was an interesting experience. So my school, it's an all-girls college prep school. And I didn't realize that I went to prep school until like 6 months ago. So I was like, oh, I went to prep school. I'm a preppy. I wore a uniform my entire educational career, except for when I went to college and such. Anyway, so, you know, it was a pretty academically demanding school. We also had expectations of doing a good amount of like community service and stuff. And so some of mine was at the Boys and Girls Club, and I don't know how I did this, but I would tutor children in Spanish. I feel like I've lost most of my Spanish capabilities at this point. But I would tutor kids in Spanish at the Boys and Girls Club. But another thing that I did was I was in this sort of program, like a peer counseling program. But also on the bus, I swear to you, people would sit down and tell me their life stories. All right. I don't know what I'm wearing today, but so I don't know. I feel like I would typically go into this shade, this like orangey gold shade. Do I want to be different? Do I want to do something different? No. I don't think so, but maybe I will. Okay, let's bring out my eyes a little bit. So maybe the blue. I have no idea what I'm wearing today. This is called Underneath, and I have not put my clothes on just yet, so I'm going to just pop this on. So yeah, people would sit down and just tell me their life story, and it wouldn't even, I wouldn't even be wanting to engage with people. I would just say, or smile or say hi, and I would learn everything about everybody, right? So it was just this thing of people would just talk to me, and I was like, well, obviously this should be my career. Anyway, I don't know what the planned purpose of this story was. I don't know how I got here and how I'm gonna get back. But yeah, so my desire to talk to people or help people kind of was confirmed or affirmed in those experiences. But also, I always thought that I could have benefited from some therapy, child, okay? Whoo, Lord Jesus. But I also had one, like, what was she? She wasn't a college counselor, like school counselor, I guess. She was like the only black, besides the librarian, only black professional staff person. And there was just one day where I needed someone to talk to, and like, she was there, you know? And I was like, oh, this is super helpful. Like, I want to do that for someone. And I want to be able to be an example that you can be a little black girl from the hood and turn out to be a psychologist. Anyway. Unlike the college counselor who I'm not going to give either of their names, okay, but I remember their full names. You have to go and meet with the college counselor and talk about what college you want to go to, what college you want to apply to, blah, blah, blah. And this lady was like, oh, you're doing well considering what? Considering that I'm a first generation student, that I'm from the hood. I don't know, but I showed you. And then when I went to college, like, she would be like, oh yeah, she's going to this such and such school. You didn't help me, girl. Okay, whatever. Grudge continues to be held. So, blah, blah, blah. I go to college. It's in Orange County, California. And I feel like I was tricked because we would go to, because it was college prep, right? High school. We would go to these college fairs where you would meet people. You can like get a sense of the schools that are out there. And so I went to this one table and they just made it sound so amazing. And they had the most diversity in the room, right? And so it was like a what is it called? A college counselor or an admissions counselor and the president of the Black Student Union. So I'm like, oh my God, they're representing a very like diverse school, and I think I want to go here. I didn't know nothing about Orange County, California. Had no idea about it. I was very like in the hood. So they were also the most helpful. I had gotten into like a good amount of other schools, including some like HBCUs, historically Black colleges, universities. But I was like, let me go to this school. Child. Girl, when I tell you. Okay, what do I want to go into? Maybe I don't know, just talking. Hopefully, no one watches these, so I'm just going to keep talking. I don't necessarily want to make this monochromatic, but since this is a blue shimmer, I also don't want to mix colors that will make it muddy. So actually, I think I'm going to put maybe another shimmer on top. Maybe I'll put that purple on, the Euphoric shade. I don't know, let's just see what happens. I could have just used this palette on its own. Anyway, so yeah, I got there. I don't think I've told you this before. So I get there, and I was gonna live in the dorms, the residence halls, and it was an adjustment, but I don't think it was as big of an adjustment as some of the other students. Quite a few were well off, were privileged. I remember one of my suite mates, because we had 3 in one room and then a bathroom that connected to 3 in the other room. One of them, she got there and her parents just went down the street and bought her a car. Just all these things that I was like, okay, these people are rich. It was also like 96, 97% like white, which I hadn't expected. It was just interesting. I became a tour guide because I was really amazing. I did like the 5-star tours where there were like famous people. And I actually went to school with Steven Twitch Boss. Remember him? He passed away not too long ago. So it was so cool to see him like get into, like, start his career essentially. We were in the same dorm hall, whatever. I just remember we were all excited, and anyway. Yeah, I went to school with Steven, or Twitch. I called him Steven. And then as a first generation student of like Caribbean, I'm gonna just say over here, Caribbean parents, non-American, like, I didn't know what to do. Because when you study psychology, when that's your major, a bachelor's degree in psychology, you can't do nothing with that, right? You can't do anything. If you want to provide therapy, you need to get an advanced degree, whether that's a master's or a PhD. I will advise you, don't get a PhD if you don't want it. You don't need it. But based on what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be called, I got a PhD. Anyway, so I didn't know how any of that worked. Like, my family and I just didn't know, right? But since I worked in the admissions office, they were just super helpful. And it was like, two of the counselors were like, well, when you start looking at what to do next, call or email this person. So I ended up sending an email to this person, and they were like at the school, like the big public university not too far from my little private school near Disneyland. And so I emailed this man, and he was like, okay, feel free to set up an appointment and come to my office, even though I was like not a student at his school. So I didn't find out until like a while after that he was like one of the founding fathers of like Black psychology, and people were all impressed, and I was like, oh, I didn't know. I was very naive, okay? The naivete probably didn't end until like, I don't know, 28. So yeah, like he was like, you don't need to start with a master's. You can just go straight to PhD school. He didn't say it like that, but that's how I heard it. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know. So I went straight from undergrad to the doctorate program. I was so young. I think I've talked about that before. Now, when I went, some grad schools are very much focused on like preparing you to become a professor, like in academia. And some are more focused on like the clinical piece of, you know, providing therapy and stuff. I was pretty sure right off the bat that I wanted to go the clinical route. Everybody else, our cohort, it was 7 people. Everybody else kind of wanted to go into teaching. So a lot of my training really focused on the therapy pieces, and I had such how the experiences I had, including going to court to sign people up for like different, you know how they're like required to do some kind of therapy, child. The experiences I had, okay, they really honestly prepared me a lot. Anyway, so I was always on the, you know, I want to be a psychologist that provides therapy kind of stuff. And so did all that. And then you have to do a 1-year clinical internship, right? Very much like med school students have to do a residency, but we're not called doctor until we actually finish our degree. And in some cases, not until you get licensed. So I did my internship here in Maryland, and it was at a counseling center, because that was pretty much either counseling center or Veterans Affairs places. You do your internship and then you figure out what you're going to do next. I'm going in with the universal blurring balm from my cousin Danessa. So once I did that, I was like, okay, I want to work in a counseling center. But when I was applying for jobs, I applied to counseling centers and to like teach, because I wanted to have, you know, I wanted to keep my options open. But at some point I had figured out I hate teaching. I just don't like students staring at me blankly. Like, engage, please answer the question. So I've taught several undergrad and grad classes, but it's not my thing. So shout out to all the teachers. I don't know how you do it. Even though I might consider doing more. Anyway, so I was like, well, I'm going to work at a counseling center. Counseling centers used to be considered like the cushy jobs. You know, you don't have to do a ton. Summers are slow. But the more I worked there, the more like every year we had like a 10 to 15% increase in students that were using the services. That didn't correlate at all with any sort of increase in pay or increase in the amount of time you have in your life. So after a while, I was like, I just can't do this anymore. So then I was like, well, let me make a plan and let me see about this private practice thing. Now, I had also contemplated moving back to Cali. I had gotten a job there, but I was like, oh, is that the best? My family's crazy. So I'm going to go in with this sponge. I've had I have multiple of them, but I've had this forever. This is a Sonia Kashuk sponge from Target. I don't even know if they still have these because Target. And I'm going in with my KVD foundation. I am combining Tan 76 and Deep 84. Remember long ago when that person was like so offended that I had the nerve to like mix shades? Okay, do we want to go over the history of makeup for darker skin? Okay, all right, not uncommon. Iman had to create her own shades, but whatever. So I was like, I can't do this anymore, this counseling center stuff. It was making me sick. Like I passed out at work. And that's when I was like, so gotta go. But I'm not independently wealthy, so I couldn't just be like, bye guys. For me, it was important for me to set up some sort of plan. So what I did, I was still working, you know, my 40 plus hours a week at the counseling center. But then I joined first I joined one therapy practice. So I would essentially work my 8 or more hour day in Maryland and then drive to DC and see private folks in the evening. And I would have some private folks in Maryland, but I wanted to save up all of that so that I could leave and have a little bit of a cushion before, you know, while I built up my practice. So anyway, that happened. And then I started working at 2 practices, and left the counseling center. It was after we had this staff meeting, and they were like, we're going to be seeing more students. We're going to be under more scrutiny. I left that meeting and I went to the director and I was like, I'm quitting. I can't do this no more. Nope. I just couldn't. It was too much. We used to have 12-hour days, okay? It was too much. So I left. I had sought out different ways of joining these 2 practices or whatever. And so I would do like 3 days at one and 2 days at another. And then came 2020 and all the shenanigans of that year, the terrifyingly life-changing things. And one of the practices, I was the only person of color. And I had some interesting experiences, and they made no comments about any of the, oops, I didn't mean to put that on there, any of the things going on, Lord Jesus, like related to Black Lives Matter and things like that. And I was like, I'm gonna go because I don't feel very supported and safe in this environment, and neither do all my clients of color. Not to mention I'd had experiences where some clients didn't want to see a Black person. So let me know if you want to know about those. And so that's when I gave them like a few months notice, and that's when I went out on my own. And so for me, initially I was like, oh my God, I'm like gonna take insurance because it's crazy that people don't take insurance, until I figured out insurance it's a racket, boo-boo. Okay? Listen, when I tell you they don't give much reimbursement to therapists at all. Like, it's insane. It's like I would have to see double to triple the amount of people I see right now if I took insurance. So because of that, I was like, well, I literally can't afford to take insurance, but also it is going to shift the populations I work with, because not everybody can afford therapy, right? So conundrum. And so I was like, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make sure I save some spots in my schedule on my caseload for pro bono folks, where I'm just going to see them for free. Now, I couldn't do it immediately. I had to get to a place financially where I could like see someone, devote that hour and the administrative stuff, like, because it's the same process of everything. Devote all of that to one person or however many people. I had to be able to balance that with the income that I was bringing in. You know what I mean? Going in with the Makeup Forever HD Skin shade concealer in 42N. I'm sorry, 4.2N. So that's how I came to providing pro bono work. And it's hard because in PhD school, I know I'm saying that, in doctorate programs for psychology, they don't necessarily teach you the business of psychology. They don't really teach you like how to figure out your rate and how to deal with insurance stuff and just all these things, right? And so it was a lot of like learning from colleagues and stuff, but also like trial and error, quite a bit of error in the beginning. But it's always been important to me to provide services to, like I said, communities that don't necessarily have the resources to access therapy. So for folks who might be, you know, leaving abusive relationships, or people who are just unemployed or whatever, like I just try to be mindful that some people are just going to need some help. So I can't do it for everybody. And sometimes I feel bad, but it's just like, I have to be able to balance like having money with providing services. And I've encouraged people, like, if you want to do pro bono or sliding scale, like lower fee work, make sure you actually want to do it, because you don't want to build up resentment to a client and be like, oh my God, they don't pay me anything. Like, you have to be in the space, I think, financially and mentally, to be able to provide that service and know that, hey, I'm just doing this. Because also, you don't become a psychologist to become rich. In case you were wondering. There's an ebb and flow. Right now, we are definitely in an ebb. And that can be really stressful. And there are so many things that will affect, I don't know, there's just a lot. But yeah, so I have my pro bono folks today. And we will see how that goes. It can be a tough job a lot of the times, because especially in private practice, like, it is your responsibility for everything, right? I've had instances where I've been out enjoying myself, having a little some champagne, and a client has contacted me in distress. And so I can't be like, oh, call the counseling center. I have to make sure they're okay. And that can also be super stressful as well. If someone is feeling like a danger to themselves and you're trying to handle that, it's a little scary at times. So I think you definitely have to have the right constitution for being a therapist. You know what I mean? Like, it's not for everybody. You have to be able to separate things. And I would do like interviews with students, and I would always say the hardest part is having to like put your stuff aside to be there for someone else. It could be that y'all are going through the same thing. It could be that they remind you of someone terrible in your life. Not that they're a terrible person, but some sort of similarity. It just can be a lot, you know? You have to know how to, that's like, to me, the worst thing is having to learn to put your stuff aside, even if you're not feeling great. Like, that don't make no difference, because if you don't work, you don't get paid. You don't have a salary, okay? You have to work to get paid. Anyway, there you go. That was my long story to say that I try to provide pro bono and low fee therapy when I can. It's not a guarantee for people. It might just be like, I think this would be helpful for you, or you need services and you just lost your job. So I can't always do it, but I try to. And either way, typically, if you're going to go to therapy, psychologists are going to be more expensive, usually. But there are so many other professionals that provide therapy that are trained, you know. I am going to, I've just been talking, take, I think this shade here, or this one, Truth, and use it to blend out the top of this shadow. I was reading this thing, so many things, but there were two things in New York. One of them probably is a longer conversation, but one of them would, or I think both might have been in Times Square. The company Billy, you know, I know them for like razors and stuff, but I think they have deodorants and things like that. They decided to do this campaign where on this wall, they just have like armpits. Like you see it's a bare thing and you just see somebody's underarm and it's a scratch and sniff thing. So you go up and you scratch and you sniff the underarm to get a sense of what the deodorant smells like in case you want to buy it. Never would I do this. No, this is weird. Whose armpit is this? Why is it there? Are we sure that they have deodorant on this painting? How long is the scent gonna last? Like, who are these people that are also scratching at it? Why do I have to scratch? Why do I have to do this? Okay, why do I have to just put a sample outside of CVS or something, or Dwayne Reed in New York, and like I could smell it there. I don't want to be going into nobody's armpit to smell. No, I'm gonna go in with the Pat McGrath Under Eye Setting Powder. I have never heard of a campaign like that. Just like, smell these pits and you can decide. And people were for real up there smelling the thing. And how long does this smell? How did you do this? Do you have to come by every like 30 minutes and spritz the deodorant on there? Or do you wipe it on there? Like, help me. Actually, don't help me understand. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I just imagine though some intern having to like stand ready to like go rub some more deodorant on this thing. Like, I don't have nothing else to do with my life. I'm gonna go in with the Danessa Myricks contour balm. No, is this a balm? I don't know. And I'm going to use this Rose and Ben brush. It is the C40 brush. But yeah, I would you do that? I'm not gonna go over there and smell somebody's pits. I'm sorry. Or I'm not sorry. I'm just not gonna do it. Like, what is the purpose? No. And I don't know you like that. Whose armpit is this? Whose is it? Can you tell me? I would prefer to know. Okay, it'd be great to do it, because and even if I know, don't mean I'm gonna do it, right? If you pay me, maybe. I mean, could you imagine going at, first of all, and not knowing that it was going on, and looking and being like, why is there a hairy armpit right there? It don't matter. You can have hair under your armpit. That's fine. But why is there a hairy armpit there, and why are people pressing their nose against it? How close do you have to get? How close do you have to get to smell the scent? I'm going to go in with this Paradise Venus blush from Patricia McGrath. People be doing too much. Okay, I'm just going to tell you that. Another Rose and Ben brush. This is the C41. I'm just going to tap into this and put it at the high points of my cheekbone. What it was? Yeah, girl. But, the other thing, and this, I plan to talk about this in my 2 therapy appointments this week, is this artist created a sculpture in Times Square, or had it placed in Times Square, and it's of a black woman. When I tell you, people have been incensed by this statue, this sculpture, because a lot of people are like, she looks like she has an attitude, like she don't look like she have a bra on. I'm sorry, how do you know a statue doesn't have a bra on? And why are you why is this important to you? They're like, her hair don't look good, she look unkempt, she's ugly, she's fat, all this stuff. And I'm like, that's what you got from that statue? The guy, the artist, said that he was trying to create just like a regular everyday person. The thing that gets me is, this looks like a regular everyday person. She has on a t-shirt and pants. She has her hair like in some braids. She's literally just standing like, no, like, I don't know how people she looked like she got an attitude. She looked mean. Maybe people have some sort of ability that I don't, that allows them to be able to intuit from a like neutral face that somebody is mean and unhappy and don't have a bra on. It has really bothered me also, because people are like, she's obese. This lady looked like she a regular old size 12, 14, 16, okay? And FYI, the average American size for women, it used to be like a 14, it's kind of like a 16, 18 now. So this lady is literally a regular lady that is walking down the street that look like all of us. You know what I mean? So it's really been getting to me, because I'm like, if people, you really, like, I say this all the time, I really need to stop reading comments on stuff. But if people are saying all of that about a statue, I'm like, and so many of us look like that, what the hell are you saying behind our backs? Or how do you view regular people? Like, some people are highly offended by it and feel like it's mocking like black women. And I mean, if you think that, I would love to hear your perspective. For me, it's like, first of all, it's a statue. Second of all, like, does she need to look like an Instagram baddie to, like, you know, like, I don't understand. I don't understand. And I'm not trying to feel bad about myself because I look like this lady. In terms of like body, and I just can't imagine people being like, she don't got no bra on. First of all, and second of all, how you not, like, what? Girl, also, boobs don't be sitting up to your chin, typically. And furthermore, the older you get, the further down they gonna go. Typically. So I'm just like, I can't believe people are sitting here like, oh my god, this is a terrible representation. It's literally a statue of a regular looking person. And most of these people that are commenting probably look exactly like her. Let me go ahead and I'm gonna finish off with my Charlotte Tilbury powder. I'm gonna find a lipstick, and I need to, where the hell did Rosé come from? And I need to find something to wear, so I will be right back. Finished look, just threw on an old dress, these earrings, and kind of a nude lip. And yeah, thank you for listening to my monologue, soliloquy, TED Talk conversation. Let me know if you have any thoughts about anything. Let me know if there's something you want me to talk about, because I don't know what to talk about. Sometimes I just come on here and I'm like, anyway, I think that's it. I hope that some of this was helpful, and I also hope that you're continuing to take care of yourself. I would love it if you like the video, and I would love it even more if you subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.